Good afternoon, Simon.
Hi, Denzil. How you doing?
Hello, I am good, thank you. See you
Good.
haven't cut your hair in a while.
Yeah, it's been a lot longer, but there's a while to go yet. I'm not
Thank
trusting
you.
anyone cutting it.
Of course. Nah, not now. Well, I can just shave mine myself, which is quite handy, which is good.
Good. Yeah.
But thank you so much for well, agreeing to do this interview. We're probably just gonna have a conversation, kind of go back and forth, see how each other are doing, and some things that we're learning or doing during lockdown. So one of the questions is simply, how have you been during lockdown? How is Simon doing?
Well, yeah. It's a journey. Let's put it that way. The first 3 weeks, I was absolutely loving it. Um, I prayed that, well, not seriously, but I prayed and could the world stop for 2 or 3 weeks so I could catch up. And suddenly, I was in this position where I could.
Yeah,
And we were getting out for a walk every evening for an hour or so, and the weather was great, and yeah, I was just loving it. And then all that changed after about 3 weeks when the government introduced all their new provisions, which are great. I mean, obviously, I want those provisions for my clients. It became a lot of work, and it's been a lot of work ever since. So the last couple of weeks in particular have been really tough. It just seems everyone wants to me all the time. The last couple of days in particular. Hopefully, there is a end to it in sight and go back to enjoying lockdown or enjoy hopefully going back to life, a new normal. But yeah, it's been tough. I mean, enjoyed walking with Kathleen, like I say, particularly enjoyed the weekend going for longer walks by the castle and the river and the abbey. It's just so beautiful around here. Yeah, it's been really good. But yeah, when the weather turned nasty and or not as
oh, yeah.
good, and when the work really piled on and I wasn't getting out walking, etc., it's been particularly tough. How about you? How have you found lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, lockdown's been interesting for me when it first started. I was quite upset in terms of I kind of just came to the church in February and in March. We're now going on lockdown. So obviously, there's so many people I was looking to catch up with and develop different ministries, different connections in the community. But obviously, that's all been put on hold. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, but it's been a good learning curve as well. There's a few things that I've been looking to study personally, which now I've had time to go in depth in those studies. But yeah, I do. Yeah, it is quite. I do find myself getting quite bored at times. Even with all the facilities I have a PS4 and iPad, laptops, but it just still gets boring. It's, you still want to meet with people and catch up with people, which has been quite hard. But overall, I've been all right. I put on a bit of weight, which I've been looking to do. And I find it very hard to put on weight. So obviously, lockdown has helped to put on weight a bit.
Well, I used to find it very hard to put on
Yeah.
weight. I was 10 stone until I was 32.
Whoa.
Then I
Whoa.
met Kathleen, and well, the rest is history.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
become very comfortable when you get married, you know.
of course, I
And
heard. I'm preparing for that. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
awesome. So another question is, what's one thing that you've missed the most during lockdown?
Well, it's easy. I mean, we came up to Barnard Castle, yes, the famous Barnard Castle, to see Madeline and Isabella. And Madeline is when we came up was 8 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and we self-isolated for 5 days. Drove up without stopping, brought food with us, and then we were locked down before we even had a chance to see her. And not seeing Isabella, who's aged, turned 2 in February. Um, Seeing her at quite close distance, but not close enough, and not being able to hug her and not be able to, and seeing her not understand why she can't have contact with us, etc., has been really, really tough.
Imagine.
Um, so yeah, I mean, and then we've got Annie and Samuel. Um, Again, we're not seen at all. Every now and again on FaceTime. Yeah, it's. I mean, everyone's going through the same,
Yeah.
and there's a big thing on the news at the moment about, you know, grandparents being allowed to see grandchildren again and this sort of speak. So yeah, I mean that's definitely been the thing I've missed the most. Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, we're quite similar in a different way. Obviously, I don't have grandchildren, not even close. But obviously, I miss Jemima, my
Mm.
fiance. Obviously, we got engaged in January, and I've only saw her in February. But luckily, I recently went up to see them also when things eased down a bit. But yeah, for a couple of months, we just were FaceTiming and just missing actually seeing each other and planning a wedding, which we don't know when it's going to happen now. So I've definitely missed her a lot. So yeah.
No, I really feel for you, and I feel for Dave and Katie in particular. I mean, it's
Yeah,
been so
totally.
tough,
It's
and
big.
you know, and you've had all the experience of doing the funerals of, you know, where only 10 people can be there. And
Yeah.
I've had a friend whose mum's died with the virus in a care home, and they decided to have no one at the funeral. It all done.
Wow.
It was an online service, all stopped, no one there at all. Which I just couldn't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. That's hard. Yeah. Yeah, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
And obviously opposite to that question, what's one thing that you don't miss during lockdown?
What I don't miss is been, yeah, that has been an absolute revelation to me. Because those who know me will know I'm fanatical about sport, primarily watching it rather than playing it.
Oh,
So I'm into football, rugby league, rugby union, cricket, baseball, American football, any sport basically. I follow it and get quite fanatical about it at times. I just haven't missed it. I haven't missed that pressure of keeping up with it all. I haven't missed the fantasy aspect of it because you know, like it's just been quite a revelation that for one thing I thought I'd never be able to do without, I'm actually
yeah.
quite
I
enjoying
guess you
not.
can. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, never saw that one coming. Not
Wow.
at
It's a
all.
big one.
Not at all. So,
Big.
how about you?
One thing I don't miss. Oof. That's quite a hard question for me. One thing I don't miss. Yeah. So it's a hard one actually. This was quite because it's obviously quite new to this area as well. There's quite still
Well, it's
kind of
okay to
building
say
a
nothing.
routine. Say again?
It's okay to
Yeah,
say
I
nothing.
think it's I think it's nothing at the moment. I can't think of something I don't particularly miss. Maybe after the interview, I'll probably go, oh yeah, there is something um yeah. So far, I kind of miss a lot of things. So yeah,
Mm, mm,
yeah.
mm.
So more on the spiritual side, what's something that God's teaching you during this time, or a message that God's kind of pressed in your heart when you've been at home and been reflecting?
Well, as deacons and leaders, we've been talking about something that's, if it's actually a word, but aliveness.
Yeah,
And I've kind of discovered a few things that I really now realise really make me alive. So early on, literally as the lockdown happened, you and I started a Thursday night group, um, and we did the Bible course, which is run by the Bible Society. That's been brilliant, really great course. Really recommend it. And I found that Thursday nights, I just look forward to them so much. And when they're over, it's like, why is it over? You know, we could carry on talking for another 2 hours, and can't we do this every night? And I just realised, it developed into a group of 7 of us in the end, and it's just been the depth with which we've been able to talk to each other. Now, without lockdown, this would never have happened. You know, we would have had conversations on a Sunday afternoon, you know, which would have been quite sort of superficial conversations, probably, you know, how are you doing? How's your week been? Sort of thing. Not gone to great depth, but every single one of these guys has been really vulnerable, really open, and we've really had discussions about the big issues, about, you know, you name it. And yeah, it's interesting. So I'm missing my church family. I really am. But at the same time, God has allowed me to have really deeper and relationships with people I would never have got to know at all about this.
Yeah.
And I've seen more people than I would, because I'm not commuting.
Yeah.
My evenings aren't taken up in the way they used to be. So, I'm meeting a lot more people and in a lot more depth than I wouldn't be, although I'm missing that physical church, as it were, that physical presence of being together. Actually, I'm really benefiting from getting to know a lot of people a lot better than I would do, and in a very deep way as well. But God is also, I think he's been speaking to me a big time about different things, about, just because we're in lockdown, he's made me not take my foot off the pedal. I feel we have a purpose even in lockdown. God has a purpose for us all in lockdown, whether it's this Thursday night group, whether it's me and you talking about the high street, or the ideas of what we're going to do, how we can help the high street. We don't know what the high street's going to look like when this is over. How many visitors are going to survive, what they're going to need help in what areas, but we could play a big part of that along with the council. So these sort of things, God is still speaking to me clearly that I have a passion now for, more than ever, if you like, to be doing something, even though I can't do something as such. So and I've got a verse that he's sort of put in my heart in the last couple of days, which is from Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, pioneer and faith. God is still in control, no matter what's going on. I really do believe that God is sovereign. We don't understand a lot of this, but God understands what's going on with us. And I feel more than ever, all we have to do, we sang that really old hymn on Sunday.
Trust and Obey.
And sometimes I say to people, I remember doing a talk with the young adults once, being a Christian is easy. All we have to do is trust and obey. There's no other way. But like, it's easier said than done. Reading our Bible every day, sharing fellowship, praying, etc. All these things are trusting and obeying, but in the nitty-gritty of life, it becomes difficult. Usually we make it more difficult for ourselves than anything, but yeah, so fixing our eyes on Jesus has really stood out to me, that we cannot take our foot off the pedal. God has a purpose for us even now in the lockdown, and and by fixing our eyes on Jesus, we don't get embroiled in maybe the theological arguments about end times or other things that might be distracting us, if you like. We need to be focused on the here and now, what Jesus has to say to us here and now. And it's been a really good opportunity to hear God's voice. A lot of us have had to realize what it is to depend on Jesus. How do we give up our whole lives to Jesus? It's easier said than done. There's always compartments of our life we think we're giving over to Jesus, but we're not. And this pandemic may have helped some of us to sort of like rely on Jesus more than we ever would. So it's just, it's that. And the other thing I've learned about myself is watching myself so much in meetings on Zoom, on camera. I realise, I now understand why sometimes people say to me, cheer up, it's like I can't help it. My face seems to curl down when I'm standing, and I'm absolutely perfectly happy being on camera, like thinking, crikey, is that how people see me?
How people see you.
But inside, I'm totally happy, I'm really up for doing stuff. But I think, how can I change? So I've got to pray about that. How
can't change your face, really, but
my face doesn't reflect.
Here and there.
Well, like if I had your face, I'd be laughing. That would reflect how I actually feel. But and it really struck home on Sunday. We do a family Zoom every Sunday, so members of family from all, my brothers and sisters, my mum and dad and my aunt, all around the country, sort of thing. And my step nephew drawing pictures of us all, and he showed me this picture of me, and it was literally this mop of hair, and this sort of cloud, and it's like, oh no, not
Oh
you as well.
gosh.
It's like, oh, I've been so happy that this quiz,
Oh gosh.
we're having great fun, yeah.
Oh gosh.
So pray for me that my face can
Face will change a bit. Cool.
have your smile, because your smile is infectious.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, so I mean, how are you? Yeah, what have you learned from all this then? You know, here you are,
Yeah.
you've been sort of zoomed into Selsdon, and then before you've got to know Selsdon or know anyone properly, you're stuck at home, frustrated, I mean.
Yeah.
So what's God taught you?
I mean, there's millions of things, but I think one of the main things, especially about church, is seeing that we are actually the people. I think not being in SBC building as nice as it is, and the work that we planning to do on it as well, but just looking at us as a force, kind of picturing the book of Acts, the early Christians who just went out and were just doing things, and obviously we can't do that now, but it's just understanding they were this force that loved Jesus and was seeking to live like how Jesus lived and communicate who Jesus was to other people. So it's kind of challenging me to the way we relate with each other, the way we see church, the love we have for each other, and also how we share Jesus at this particular time. I think just because there's a lockdown does not mean that the gospel message is put on pause. So it's kind of looking at being creative about different ways that we can share Jesus with our friends and family, with those who are grieving. So yeah, I'm just kind of seeing church in a different way, or in the original way, in terms of the people as a force who are fellowshipping with each other, if it's by Zoom or by phone conversations. But I'm kind of hoping that this kind of continues, that we understand that we are this movement of people who are trying to live like Jesus and trying to share Jesus with people. So I'm really praying that we don't just go back into our lovely church buildings, which church buildings are good and are very useful, but just still understanding the core elements that we are, God's people who are on a mission to share who He is with people. And another thing that God's really been teaching me is about, this sound doctrine, like really communicating who God is accurately through the Bible. That's something that God's been challenging me with a lot. I think, going on, different churches or different people are now doing like Zoom calls or Facebook videos or YouTube videos preaching. And I've realized that some of their preaching just isn't particularly sound, or it's more feel-good sermons that make you feel good. But I've really been challenged to really, understand scripture for what it is, communicate it for what it is as well. So I've done a couple Zoom sessions with people. I did a Zoom session at the beginning of lockdown. We had about 18 people who wanted to learn how to study the Bible. And I've had so many messages from people from all around the world who are saying, I want to study more of the Bible. I want to understand more of the Bible. So we can see that God is kind of drawing people back to His word, not just these, itching sound feel good sermons, but, really going back into His word and communicating it for what it is. So hopefully that's something that most people from SBC would be craving as well during this time. But yeah, that's some of the things that God's been speaking to me about.
I think it would be really sad if we all went back to how we were. This hadn't changed us.
Something has to change.
It must have changed us. And
totally.
The fact that the church is a movement now and not a building is absolutely fantastic.
Totally.
So yeah.
Thank you so much, Simon, for joining me for our conversation.
Thank you.
We've had many conversations, but this, one for our brothers and sisters in Christ. So hopefully you have an awesome day.
Thank you.
I don't know what else you're up to, but yeah, I'm just going to go back to some reading that I've got going.
Back to work.
Back to work. Cool. Awesome. All right then.
So, God bless.
Thank you, Simon. God bless.
Cheers.
God bless you.
Thanks. Bye.